Welcome to Biology Made Easy. Today we are looking at the topic, why does the heart contract and relax? It's part 2 in our series discussing the mammalian heartbeat. Well, it will be good to check on the lesson on understanding the structure and function of the heart, and then check the lesson on heartbeat overview before you look at this one. Well, why does the heart contract and relax? The answer is simple. Every muscle contracts and relax, and the whole heart is completely muscle, no bone. So the whole heart contracts and relaxes. In fact, the various cells of the heart muscle, each of them can contract and relax, but the rhythmic contraction of the whole heart is due to this structure, sinoatrial node, which is also made up of heart muscle with tiny bits of nerve fibers. So we would want to look at the difference between muscle like a skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and heart muscle. Skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, heart muscle, all muscle contracts and relaxes. So what's the difference between skeletal muscle that is associated with the skeleton, bones, smooth muscles, that is muscles of internal organs, cardiac muscle, which is heart muscle. Now, this is one skeletal muscle cell, myocyte, only one, also known as muscle fiber. This is how it looks like. Well, spindle-shaped, multi-nuclei, a lot of nuclei in the cell. The cytoplasm is sarcoplasm. Then it has fibrils, myofibrils, and then they have striations. Then you look at smooth muscles, those in the internal organs. This is a muscle cell. Each cell has only one nucleus. No myofibrils, no fibrils, no striations. Then cardiac muscle, the muscle of the heart, is made up of cylindrical, short, branching fibers. So this is a fiber. A fiber is a muscle cell, like skeletal muscle cell is known as a muscle fiber because it has these striations. So you have cardiac muscle, short, cylindrical fibers, but they are interconnected. This is cardiac muscle. Now it has striations, multinuclei, has a lot of nuclei, and then it has intercalated disc. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here. And these intercalated discs are special electrical junctions, cardiac muscle. Now, beside the structure of cardiac muscle being different, a muscle contracts and relaxes. So every muscle has the ability to contract and relax. But skeletal muscles and smooth muscles, their contraction is initiated by nerves. So you have a muscle cell. The muscle cells are put together, the fibers are put together into bundles. So you have bundles of them, a lot, and all these bundles neatly enclosed in connective sheath, and the skeletal muscles are nerved with motoneurons. So they have nerves that enable the muscle to contract and relax. The same goes with smooth muscles that have nerves that causes it to contract and relax. So smooth muscles are arranged in sheath, and their contraction and relaxation has nerves. And this nerve is autonomous nervous system that controls involuntary nerve actions. So all skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, they have nerves that cause them to contract and relax. So these muscles, their contraction is neurogenic. When we come to cardiac muscle, each muscle fiber has ability to contract and relax on its own Look at these intercalated discs. They are special electrical junctions. So their contraction is known as myogenic. They can contract on their own, not being controlled by the nervous system. No. So even though these individual fibers of the heart, the whole heart contracts rhythmically, and that is because of the sinoatrial node, also known as SA node. This is the pacemaker. This sinoatrial node contracts and relaxes automatically all the time. When this node, which is also cardiac muscle, special type with some tiny bits of nerves, that is what this structure is. When it relaxes, the whole heart relaxes. And that is what is known as diastole. So it relaxes and blood fills the heart from the pulmonary veins and from the vena cava. Blood fills in, some trickles into the ventricles. Then this sinoatrial node contracts, and when it contracts, it sends out electrical waves. These are the electrical waves it sends out that flow from the sinoatrial node into the atria, the right atrium and the left atrium, causing the atria to contract. Both contracts, and that is the atrial systole contracts, and blood pushes from the atria into the ventricles. Then these electrical waves touch this atrioventricular node. This is it. This atrioventricular node also gets the electrical waves into the bundle of His in this direction, causes the ventricles also to contract, pushing blood out of the ventricles. And so, by the contraction and relaxation of this sinoatrial node, it causes the whole heart muscle to relax, the atria to contract, and the ventricles to contract. And so, the cardiac muscle, as we have said, each cardiac fiber has the ability to contract and relax. So it's myogenic. It doesn't depend on nerves to cause them to contract and relax, but how the whole heart contracts and relaxes neatly is because of the sinoatrial node that is the pacemaker that signals the rhythmic contraction of the whole heart. Now we want to compare the contractions of skeletal muscle, smooth muscle, and cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscles, the contraction is under the control of the will. The person decides to lift the hand or arm. So the contractions are voluntary, under the control of the will, and the part of the brain that controls it is the cerebrum. Contractions of smooth muscle is involuntary. One cannot control it, and the part of the brain that controls smooth muscle contractions and relaxations is the hypothalamus and medulla oblongata. Well, cardiac muscle, the contractions are also involuntary. One cannot control it. It's not under the control of the will. The part of the brain that controls it normally is not the brain, it's SAN, the sinoatrial node. However, as we explained, during times that the normal heartbeat will have to increase, we have the medulla oblongata and adrenaline coming in. Now, the kind of contractions that go on in skeletal muscles, you have very powerful contractions and rapid, but then skeletal muscles easily get fatigued. Powerful, rapid, easily fatigued. The kind of contractions that go on in smooth muscles, You have slow contractions and relaxations. The kind of contractions that go on in cardiac is rhythmic and goes on all life, never fatigue. As we talked about, there are nerves that control the contraction of skeletal muscles and smooth muscles. So what type of nerves control skeletal muscles? Motor nerves. Now, let's say the eye senses something, stimulus, sends impulses to the brain, and the brain sends impulses via motor nerves to the leg muscle, and the leg muscle contracts. So that is simply what motor nerves are. We'll talk about it in a good time in a major lesson. Now, what about the nerves that control smooth muscles? The nerves are involuntary, they are autonomic nervous system. Autonomic because you can't control it. The nerves control, we will talk about it. It's not under the control of the will. Here, it goes under the control of the will, cerebrum. In the cardiac, as we have said, the control of the contraction and the relaxation of heart muscle is myogenic. They can contract on their own, and the whole heart contracts based on the sinoatrial node, as we said. But, as we have said, the medulla oblongata comes in when there's the need. Stress, anxiety, excitement, etc. will make the heart beat faster, and that will cause the medulla oblongata to affect the sinoatrial node to do the increase in contractions. The refractory period for skeletal muscle is short. The refractory period is the period where if a muscle is stimulated to contract, the period within which if it's stimulated again, it can contract. Well, so this is the end of our lesson. If the lesson has been useful, please give us your thumbs, like the lesson, and do kindly subscribe. Thank you very much. Goodbye.